It's great to welcome you here this morning. We are looking at this special Point to Jesus event. We normally do Christmas and Easter, and in light of some of the events that are happening this summer, we thought it would be a great opportunity to think more broadly about how, as Christians, we can engage with special events, whether they are big sporting events, national events, or even local events that are quite unique to where you are. So with that in mind, we've invited some lovely guests along who are going to give us some of their wisdom and their experiences in using these opportunities for the gospel. And so initially, I would love to invite you to welcome Jonny Reid from Christians in Sport.
Great. Thanks, Bethan. Great to see everyone. Thanks for joining us. I love sport. Sport is also loved by the majority of not only the UK, but the world. Over 9 million people play sport in the UK each week. The most watched TV events, I think the top 10 last year, 8 of the 10 were sporting events. This year will be 10 out of 10 because we hope there won't be a coronation and a funeral. Sport is massive in our culture. People love it. It gathers people together. And so, as we just said, it provides a great opportunity to bring people together and give opportunities then to share the gospel, to speak of Jesus. So Christians in Sport, we're really passionate about this. We long to reach sports people for the gospel, but also long to make the most of the opportunities which major sports events brings. We've produced a mission pack to help support that. I think that's going to appear on screen now, just showing you a little bit of what's in there. And then I'm going to share a little bit about how you might be able to use that within your different events. So our mission pack includes quizzes, sports quizzes, which you can put on and use in your events. It includes a couple of talks, a sort of longer evangelistic talk and a short film. We've got testimonies from former Olympians and Paralympians. We've got a guide about how to run an Olympic church service, school assemblies, lesson guides, lots of things to adapt and use. And all of those alongside, we're looking a little bit at a tract and book, which we've been able to produce 10 of those to share this Olympic time. So there's loads of opportunities, like we said, and the pack kind of serves as that. You could run maybe probably a more direct evangelistic event like a sports quiz, an opportunity to share the gospel at halftime. There's sort of 6 rounds of a quiz. It's a really easy invite if people like sport, if they like pub quizzes. It's a great night and people really enjoy that. So there's really direct events you can do like that. You could do other things like adapt your Sunday service, invite people in, maybe call it like an Olympic Sunday. And we've got a guide there of how you can have different games during the service, there's talks, you can theme it, pray around the world in terms of different things going on. So there's lots of opportunities you can use there. Watch-alongs then are quite a big thing as well. You can just said it, the most watched TV events are sporting. And whether that's things like the Six Nations or the Olympics or the Euros, there's great opportunities there. For me in my church in Oxfordshire, we're going to show the European Championship final on a Sunday night after our church gathering. And it's a great chance to welcome people in. We're marketing it as a family-friendly way to come and watch the final. Many people will be watching in pubs or be watching different places, but it's an opportunity maybe for sort of teenagers and others to come and watch with their parents. And we'll hand out a book or tract and an invite to a Sunday service there as well. We found that a talk at halftime works less well there. People want to kind of discuss the game and grab some food and drink, but it's a great chance to kind of build connections in the community and invite them onto something else. Similarly, we're running a family fun day. We know others are doing similar, themed around the Olympics, inviting families from our local community to come. We'll have a kind of a giveaway pack, which will include a number of sort of books and tracts and an invite to a church and an opportunity again just to share something a little bit. Kind of we do 2 to 3 minutes kind of in the middle around our barbecue there. So there's loads of opportunities. Sport kind of, like I said, it brings people together. People love it from all ages. And so it's well worth thinking through how you can make the most of that this summer.
I found this at our church, hosting a quiz night on a sports theme. If you can get a local sports person who's a Christian to come along and to give their testimony, that's also a great addition to that as well. Yeah. Just talking about some of our very specific resources for this summer. Jonny and Graham Daniels have together produced this little booklet. It's a lovely little booklet that explains all about Eric Liddell's his desire to honour God by not racing on a Sunday, but how that then led him to win the gold in the 400 metres. So this year is the 100-year anniversary of that. It was in France, and this year's Olympics are in France. So this is a great opportunity to use that as an opportunity to share the gospel. So inside the little booklet, it tells all about Eric's testimony, and then how he went on to be a missionary to China, and the internment camp that he was in there. And we've also got a small tract as well that matches with that. So the booklet you can get from as little as £1, and the tract from as little as 6p each. So if you're going to plan an Olympic themed event, this would be a great thing to consider. More generally, if you are going to be hosting some other sporting events, I would definitely recommend this sports testimony book. It's got 17 testimonies of sports people. So whether you're looking to host a football event, a rugby event, an athletic event, there will be something in there for everybody. And it's a great one to give away, because the gospel is very clear in the testimonies of the sports people in there. I would say it's not really suitable for kind of younger children. Some of the stories do contain maybe some slightly more adult themes around the testimonies that those people share, and that's just really for your information. But if you do want something to give away to the kids, we've got this lovely little book called Sports Day, which talks around the emotions of winning and losing, and how that's relative to what the Bible teaches. So maybe you could pick up a pack of those to give away to the children at the events that you're going to be hosting. Tying in with this, I wanted to highlight a magazine which you may or may not have seen before. So at 10 of those, we produce this Life magazine. It's an evangelistic magazine that contains an array of articles. We've got testimonies from Christians, we've got articles that are gospel themed, and then we've got some general interest things as well in there that might draw people in, recipes or kind of household things. And in this edition, which is available now and will run through the summer, we have 3 specific sporting pages. So we've got an interview with Wigan Warriors rugby league player Anna Davies. So if you're a rugby town, that might be of interest to you. We have a kids page, which is a kind of design your own heptathlon, which links in with the Olympics. And we also have the children's biography of Eric Liddell in there as well. So again, if you've not come across this before, or you've not considered this, this would be a great resource to be able to give away quite widely at events, pop on the tables or pop in a little goodie bag. It's a very easy access gospel resource. If you are thinking of doing that in bigger numbers, we do have the option to add your details printed on the back as a bespoke copy for if you're going to order 2,000 plus. And then we also have the option to completely redesign the front and back covers with your own branding for your church, with the times and details of your events, which is a popular option for some churches who want to get this given out widely in their postcode. We can even get that delivered direct to people's houses. So if you're interested in either of those options, please do get in touch. So I'm going to hand over now to Christine Armstrong. Christine works for the Word One-to-One, and she is going to talk to us about how we can use national events and how she has experience in using these national events to give us a kind of platform for evangelism. So I'll hand over to you, Christine.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good to be here. So the most significant national events I've been involved in making the most of for the gospel were the Queen's funeral and the King's coronation. So hopefully by me kind of sharing a bit about our experience, it might spark some ideas for you to apply to your context as well. So obviously these were huge historic moments for the nation and internationally, and they were great opportunities for us as Christians to connect with people and connect what was happening with our faith in the Lord Jesus and scatter gospel seeds. So for the Queen's funeral, we were very blessed at All Souls. I used to work there as well until recently. We were very blessed to be contacted by someone who had a fantastic vision to purchase Christian literature to give to people in the queue to view the Queen lying in state. So we were really thankful that 10 of those were very quick off the mark in getting the tract that Roger Carswell wrote about the Queen and her faith out. So we got 50,000 copies of those, which was amazing. And we gave them out mainly to people who were in and around the queue. And we partnered with open air campaigners. So that's a good potential idea or principle is to see if there's open air kind of people in your area that you can partner with when opportunities like this come up. And they helped us get in touch with other Christians and churches to join in. And it was a real joy and quite moving for me, actually, to see about 83 Christians from over 19 churches come together in the 2 days, serving the Lord, confident in the power of the gospel for salvation. And even Roger came down with a couple of his friends. And so we were amazed at how open people were to receiving it. They saw it as a souvenir to remember this historic moment. Some asked for more copies to give to their friends and family members. We had a QR code as well that led to a short tribute video that we'd put on YouTube. People were scanning that. But it's also a great opportunity to help Christians to step out of their comfort zone with other Christians to try flyering. So we had people flyering for the first time, talking to members of the public for the first time in this kind of context, which then I think builds confidence for people for their personal evangelism as well. So for the coronation, 10 of those developed some fantastic evangelistic material, good news for everyone, also had a branded New Testament. And because we had more time for this, we saw it coming, we did a training session to help build confidence in people who were interested in getting involved. And we brainstormed some ideas about how we could start conversations and turn them to Jesus. Practice in a safe place is so valuable. And one of the tools that we gave people for the coronation was a little quiz to go up to people with and engage in open conversation that way. I got into a few chats where we were able to talk in more depth about whether people had a faith, about the King Jesus. I even got to show a few people the Word One-to-One mobile app once we started talking about the Bible. By the way, there's also these little booklets now of the Word One-to-One episode 1, which people use for street evangelism. That just gives an introduction to the first 18 sentences of John's Gospel with some notes. But yeah, one of my highlights was when 2 young Christians came and found us. They weren't with us, but they told us that they had come to the Mall to evangelize, and they'd met a couple of young ladies who had read the book on the coronation that we had given, and through chatting to them, they were ready to accept Christ. So these 2 young Christians led them in a prayer and were helping them to find a church in Scotland. So we never know what the Lord is going to do with these seeds. So it was just great to be kind of amongst everyone in the festival atmosphere. We even managed to get it into the hands of some celebrities on their way to the ceremony. Another simple thing we did was just give gift packs to people who we were connected with through our English classes, our toddler groups, neighbours to the church building. And we really encouraged our church family to buy and give the books and tea towels to their friends, family, and neighbours as well. My local church organised a coronation picnic for their English class students, and they invited the rest of, I think that's on the next slide, they invited the rest of the church as well. And yeah, there's some other pics there of what some other churches did. And as Jonny was saying, yeah, just we've also kind of shown sporting events on the big screen at church as a family friendly kind of option for people to enjoy events like the Euro final. We've also done the Olympics on a big screen and had a drop-in cafe in the past. So it's just a way, looking for ways to invite people to engage with us as a church, to meet more of the church family. Young people have had video game themed socials where they're playing the sport on video to just tie in with what's going on nationally or internationally. And yeah, just a way to kind of invite friends to engage. And as well, just finally, it's great to equip church family to know how to follow up with any friends or contacts who are interested in finding out more about Jesus. So as well as courses, the Word One-to-One is just a really easy to use resource that any Christian can use at a time and place that serves their contact. So, and you don't have to use it one-to-one, you can use it in slightly bigger groups as well. So if you want any more information about how that works, you can go to the website or get in touch with me. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. One of the things that I found so encouraging from what you said was that it wasn't just one church that was mobilised for the Queen's funeral and also for the coronation. It was a group of churches and a group of Christians who maybe didn't know each other but came together. And so one thing that we can be thinking about for these national events or even local events is how can we mobilise other gospel-centred churches to come with us and to get involved. So maybe that's something that you might want to think about. So the next thing I want to just highlight to you is having resources available, whether they are tracts or books, or we'll talk a little bit more about Bible portions later, is to have something to give to people as they go away. So not just that the conversation that you've had will continue to work in them, but also that they have something kind of concrete to take with them and to look back on. So we've got a selection of evangelistic books that we would encourage people to have a small supply of when you do these events, so that you've got them on hand. And I just want to highlight, we do try wherever we can to sell these from as little as £1 each, because we know that, you know, money is tight, but the gospel is so important, and getting evangelistic resources out widely is a key value of 10 of those. So we do price them where if you buy them in quantity, you can get them from £1 each. Now, Tim's going to pop in the chat. So Have You Ever Wondered is a brand new resource which ponders questions that people who are not Christians might think, like, why is it that we are so drawn to art and music, or why is it that we feel that we know what is good and what is bad? So there's a whole host of questions that are going to act as a catalyst for people to think about the gospel, and that currently is not available just because of rising prices. It's not available for £1 a copy. However, we have made you a discount code that if you want to order some for £1 a copy, you can do that using our discount code. So you can get 100 copies of Have You Ever Wondered for £100, and that is a special discount code just for people who are joining us and making use of this training. So that's in the chat now. So all of these books for a variety of different people and different occasions would be suitable to give away if they've got questions or just as a follow-up, really. And another thing that we love to encourage people to give away are evangelistic testimony books. People are so compelled by other people's stories. We love to read about how people have lived and what they've done, and to see transformation in people's lives. And so these evangelistic testimony books that we print have a selection of people from a selection of different walks of life, but that have come to a point in their lives where they've trusted Jesus and seen that amazing power of the Spirit in their lives. And so we encourage people to give these away widely. Maybe it's for people who wouldn't sit down and read a more traditional book, but you can say, oh, there's a story about somebody who was in a situation similar to yours. So they do cover such a wide range. I can't possibly go into them now, but I will try and make a blog in the coming months about what all the different stories are for these different biographies, so that you can kind of figure out which ones might suit where you are and the people that you're working with. I'm going to pass now to Roger. Roger is our resident evangelist on these Point to Jesus events, and he's just going to talk to us about how we might embrace local events. So things that are quite specific to where you are. It could be you have a very specific county fair or a historic significance in your town, and how we can make use of those things to share the gospel. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah. Excuse me. Thank you. I just, this is a picture. It's nothing to do with anything Christian at all, but it's in a nearby village to where I live. And I thought, what an interesting idea. It was just in the grounds of a church. And in there were loads and loads of books that you could either help yourself to or take one and replace with another one. And I just thought, that I'm sure that idea could be copied elsewhere. So there we are, just a thought. My daughter, who lives around the corner from me, she has one of those little box libraries. I should have taken a picture of it, but it's being repaired at the moment. It's this sort of size, and it opens up like this, and again, people can take books. They're not all Christian books that they put in there. There's a real mixture, and they do that deliberately. So just a thought. You often find telephone boxes these days, don't you, which are sort of book boxes. And again, there's one near to where I live in another village, and I regularly go there and just leave a book or two. I also maybe take one or two books that I don't think would be helpful to people in the area, and let's just say I file those. You've got the idea. And so I live quite rurally, just in a village, and there are loads and loads of events that go on during the year. It's amazing how much rural people like to put on special events. We're just coming into the season now, excuse me, of agricultural shows. I'd like to talk about those first of all. I imagine wherever you are, somewhere near you, there will be an agricultural show. Excuse me. And we really ought to be exhibiting there. The Great Yorkshire Show in Harrogate, for example, gets 150,000 people through. And linked to Farming Christian Link, and it's worth getting in touch with them if you want help with a gazebo, etc. We have a gazebo there. It says Farming Christian Link, and we give away New Testaments, Christian literature. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, "The Lord is my shepherd." The one, I'm not a dog lover at all. I used to say to my children, the only pet they can ever have in our house is a fish, and it's got to come covered in batter. Nevertheless, if I can use dogs for the furtherance of the gospel, man's best friend is. And because it's such a cute picture, people love to take that. But we would go to these agricultural shows. Some of them are much smaller, some of them larger. Give away literature, obviously, always with the view to trying to engage in conversation with people. And it's amazing who you meet there. I was able to say something about the gospel to Prince Charles when he was still Prince 2 or 3 years ago, when he came to the Great Yorkshire Show. And farmers especially, if you think about them, they're often isolated, not having that much contact with the gospel. So to give a New Testament with a gospel booklet, a leaflet, is very helpful. And then there are loads of other things. It was lovely to hear Christine talk about all that went on for the, first of all, the Queen's death and then the King's coronation. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this, but 10 of those already have my script ready for when King Charles dies. But so don't worry, it'll come to print very, very quickly, I promise you. And yes, that was an amazing opportunity. The wonderful thing about taking a team to give out tracts, etc., and Christine brought this out, it encourages young Christians to start to be a little bit bold. I like winsome boldness, but a little bolder about their faith. And when you're with a group of others, it really is. It's just encouraging to be working together. And not many people are annoyed or angry. The vast majority are sort of nicely indifferent, but there are those who are willing to stop and talk. Can you see under arts and cultures the kite? There are many places around the country that have probably late August, September kite festivals. Now, again, to get a gazebo, have some books, or just get a bundle of these and seek to give them away. Then if you look at the bottom, it says new, the cross that counts. I gather an election is coming, and this really is for our general election, though there are elections all over the world. And then go to the right, Remembrance Day, to go to a commemoration, whether it's in a town. If you've got somebody who's been in the military, let them wear their military uniform. In the middle, the scariest stories are the true ones. Brilliant tract about Halloween, which is very useful. Black Friday. Again, great excitement suddenly rises, doesn't it, over a day, and yeah, to give out those. Go to the top right. Every picture tells a story. It's strange. It's just a gospel tract about art. So whenever I go to an art gallery, and I do go because I travel around and I think, hey, they're free and they're wonderful, I would always take one for the people at reception and seek to get into conversation. And then the music festivals. The Who said that is more suitable for the sort of pop culture. Reading and Leeds and well, there are all sorts, aren't there, up and down the country. It'd be great if we could cover these and try and talk to some of the young people who basically go for a weekend of debauchery as well as music. But let's try and talk to them. And then I would always go to, at Christmas, I'd always go to a presentation of Handel's Messiah. And I go about an hour and a quarter early so that you get everybody coming in. The great thing is that when people go to a performance of Handel's Messiah, they go early and they sit there. And then what do? Well, it's interesting. I was doing this at Leeds Town Hall some years ago, and the officials at the town hall came and thanked me because they said for the last 2 or 3 years, when it came to the Hallelujah chorus, nobody stood up. But this time they all read your leaflet and they all knew they were supposed to stand. The fact is that they'd read the leaflet. There are others as well. The village where I live is a very popular village for tourists. It's because they're filming the current series of All Creatures Great and Small. So we get loads of people. But we have a Dickensian festival. We have a Christmas market. So I'm there again with a little stall, little stand, and I use that then from there to give out tracts. Every Saturday, if I'm not working away, and I am working away a lot, but every Saturday I am and a few others going to our local town. It's Skipton, and we would give out tracts. What I found is that if you've got something that links them and their thinking with the tract, it works all the better. So, for example, St. Patrick's Day tract is not here now. But just to say, have you ever wondered how St. Patrick became a saint? That's the title of the tract. Of course, nobody has. But nevertheless, it was a way to be able to give them the tract. And then Easter. And then, of course, when the election comes, that is very, very useful. But I say again, to use these opportunities, yes, it's wonderful evangelistically, but it is encouraging Christians to join together in evangelism. I did feel Christine made that very powerfully, and I think there's great value. I think there's great value in doing it regularly, say every Saturday morning or every Saturday afternoon, and you start to meet people who've had a tract before, and you have further conversations.
But thank you so much, Roger, for those ideas. And tracts are such a great things. Roger would said, lose them and use them. So have a variety of tracts available, and definitely we have such a broad variety of tracts for lots of different things. But maybe you have a very specific event, and you've looked through the tracts. You think, do you know what? There's nothing that really is suitable. Well, there's nothing to stop you from having a go at writing something yourself that's very specific and very linked into that event, and getting it printed locally in just a few hundred that you can use. So we would encourage you to maybe consider that. And if you want some advice about writing tracts, then I'm sure that Roger would be happy to give you some advice, and we might even be doing something similar to that quite soon. Let me just move on because we are just a little bit over on time. The gospel in its either individual gospels or New Testament or a whole Bible is so key to our evangelism. And so having these resources on hand when we're going out to speak to people is really important. So having your own Bible with you and having portions of scripture to be able to give away is really key. So we do, again, try and get these out for as cheaply as we possibly can so that you've got them available. As Christine mentioned, follow-up is very important as well. So not just being there at the event, but having something to then invite people along to, whether that is a course or your own services or your own like different things that you run. So we do encourage people to make sure that they've got an idea of what follow-up they might do, whether that is the Word one-to-one, whether it's a small group evangelism like Christianity Explored, or we've got specific teens ones, Luke's book, which is Vox, or we have How to See Life in 3-2-1, which can be done online, either on their own or in conjunction with someone else. And so we've got loads of ways of moving people forward in their understanding of the gospel. Finally, I just want to raise the awareness about 10 Giving. 10 Giving is a charity that it is separate to 10 of those, but we do work alongside them. And 10 Giving is a way for you to either give to a charity who are supporting and resourcing Christians to share the gospel. You can apply for resources or finances to help you to be able to give the gospel out widely. It might be that you've got an idea in mind for being able to share the gospel, but you might not have the funds there for it. So you can apply to 10 Giving for some resources. And please, we do ask that you would pray for 10 Giving. The trustees there have got to review all the applications and make decisions about who they'll award the resources and the money to. So do pray for that. You can find more about that on the link there, 10giving.org.uk. I did say that was the final thing, but there's one more. So we've recently started a monthly email, which is specifically focused on evangelism. The one last month was an introduction to evangelism and why it's so important. This recording of this and kind of some information that relates to it will be our May email, and there'll be a blog to go alongside that. And then coming later in the year, we've got the themes of how to deal with if you're discouraged and you're feeling effective in evangelism, how we reach our unsaved family and friends, and which course do you run. We just talked about courses, like how do you decide which one you should run. So we'll be sending out those emails every month, and so if you don't already, do sign up to our emails so that you don't miss out, and we would love for you to join with us. If you've got stories about how you have used evangelism, how you might have reached your unsaved family or friends, or which courses you prefer, do make sure that you send us an email. You can email myself or Tim Foster. Somebody has asked the question, what legal things do you need to do in order to show live TV in your church? Now, when it was the coronation, so our church held a coronation event, and we checked, and actually the BBC had waived their kind of legal system for that, so that anybody could share the coronation in a public venue as long as it was publicly available. So as long as you had open doors that anybody could come in and out, then you could share that. It could be that you might need to go through some different procedures for a sporting event, depending on the licensing. I don't know if any of our guests, Jonny, do you know any of this?
Generally Olympics, World Cups, European Championships run on BBC and ITV. You need a TV license, and you can't charge for tickets, but otherwise you're fine. Definitely do not ever show Sky Sports unless you have paid for it, or BT Sport or anything like that. Unless it's, again, they often waive the Champions League final and put it publicly available on YouTube. But if not, you will get heavily fined for anything which is kind of on paid kind of sport licensing. But BBC, ITV, you're all good generally.
That's great. That's really helpful to know, Jonny. So another question that we had is, how do you encourage conversation at a quiz night? Often the people who arrive at the quiz night do arrive in teams or small groups, so they will be having conversations. But if you can put on the tables a tract or a Life magazine or something that is something that they can be looking through while they wait for the quiz to start, and do offer resources at the end. And again, if you have somebody, so if it's a sporting quiz, if you could get somebody who's a sporting professional, who's a Christian, or we recently hosted a quiz night that was based around game shows, and we managed to get 2 countdown champions to come and give their testimony. So all of those things are helpful in creating conversation, because it's putting in people's minds how important it is for those people and their faith, and so it does automatically bring conversations. But always, if you can encourage people from your church to be inviting people along, then there's that natural contact there, and so conversations should hopefully flow a bit more freely. So we've had a question, is it possible for smaller churches to do a pick and mix of the 100 for 100? So yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, our customer service team would be happy to put together, say, maybe 25 of some books for you, so that you can make up your 100 in a slightly different way. So yeah, definitely get in touch with us if you'd like to do that. We do have a sample pack of tracts on our website, so we'll be able to, you can have a look at them in real life. You can download the tracts as a PDF so that you can read through them if you've not seen them in real life. So it's, yeah, lots of helpful things there. Tim, did we have anyone mention any local events that they'd been a part of? Nope. Okay.
Sorry, I thought it was a different question, Beth, and I shook my head too early. Yeah, we had quite a few responses on the poll. Lots of folk doing farming shows, local and village shows, country shows. A couple of slightly out of the box ones that I hadn't thought of myself. School fairs. Go to your local school fair and do some outreach of that. A local park run, a brilliant idea. And one was at the Beltane Festival, which I think happens up in Edinburgh. Quite an interesting one.
No, that's great. And it's lovely to hear these things, because maybe there is local events that happen close to you and you would never think to engage in them. I know just last bank holiday weekend in Llandudno, there is a Victorian extravaganza. And so United Beach Missions are involved in that. So they get Christians from around the country who come, set up a stall with books, interactive kind of like polls for questions of the day. And so they make use of that opportunity at that Victorian event to share the gospel. So maybe today, the one thing that you want to take away from this is, how can you make use of these local events? It could be something super specific to where you live locally, or it could be a national event like we've talked about, or a big sporting event. But all of these can be a great opportunity for sharing the gospel. Sometimes it's just somebody else prompting us with that idea that makes us think, do you know what, I think we could probably do that. Maybe you've got a small church and you don't have many people, so it could just be handing out tracts on a Saturday or a Sunday or the day of the event, just as people wander by. Or it could be that you want to host a big event, like Jonny referred to, having like an Olympic themed event. You could have games. So it is really something that you can adjust based on the resourcing that you have in your church.